Plato says that we can easily forgive a child who is afraid of the dark. The real tragedy of life is when men are afraid of the light. So I asked you, are you all afraid of the light? I didn't hear everyone. That's a little surprising. Is there a little fear in the audience here? Good, that's what I want to hear. Does anyone here believe that they don't have a right to know what's going on? Come on now, this is a thought exercise. The purpose is to get you to think and then to answer the question. Fantastic. Do you all want to know what's going on with WikiLeaks? Yes! I guess you thought about that for a while. So here's an important thing. I think a lot of anti-authoritarian types like to think that speaking truth to power is good. You know, you stick it to the man and you show the man how it is. Well, I think that's stupid. Power knows power because power is in power. So what you need to do is empower yourself. You need to know that it is important to take this power and give it to people that are not simply the people that make decisions. Give it to the people that vote them in and out of office. That's why we want to inform everyone about this. This is why we want to make sure that the people that are in power know that they cannot issue a denial when everyone knows the truth. They can't redact a document when everyone already has a copy of it in their heart and in their mind. This is something that I think that all of you understand. And so I hope that all of you will take something away from this and do something about it. Some media has had some things to say about WikiLeaks. We'll go through that real quick. I think that it's pretty clear that we've done some good work. I like this one a lot. Schon heute das erfolgreichste journalistische Unternehmen der Welt. That's a bold statement, and the Germans don't make bold statements like that unless they're pretty serious. This right here are some awards that I would say that Julian has pretty clearly won and accepted for the project. But it's important to remember that WikiLeaks is not just Julian. So this whole idea of hunting for him, you can cut off the head, but there will be more. You just can't stop us. So here's an example of WikiLeaks at work, Barclay Bank. There's essentially this problem, especially in the United Kingdom, which is that people like to not only pretend that they can erase the past, but they try to take the present and pretend that it isn't happening. They censor publications, and they fight against what is actually happening in this exact moment, being able to be reported in any context whatsoever. So what did we do? We published the documents that they were trying to censor. The internet changes everything. They can't redact every person's computer screen. They just don't have that kind of control. The same is true with this. The Minton report shows that there was toxic waste dumping where over 100,000 people have been hospitalized or driven to seek help in some way. Can you imagine that? That's every person in this room and every person you know, probably. And this is something that when people know this, if we refer to Moxie's quote and his question, when people know this, they can get out of there and they can seek help and they can seek to redress their concerns in a very serious way. And so these corporations use major legal obstacles in order to make sure that there are secret processes, in order to make sure that there are things that are taking place that you cannot know about, that you cannot talk about, that you can't repeat, that you can't quote. This is ridiculous. This is not the world that we want to live in. So WikiLeaks published those documents. And we publish those documents so that people will have access to them in and outside of that country, so that people will be able to know and to take action, which is what they should do, which is what you should do. And there are other publications which are fantastic, like the BBC, but the fact of the matter is they have a structure that does not allow them to actually tell you everything that's going on. And they have a lot to lose. I don't have anything to lose, right? I want to make a better world. That's what Julian wants. That's what Daniel wants. That's what other people who will go unnamed want. And it is extremely important that we don't let the buck stop with the publications that are afraid of losing their newsroom. If we get it out there, those gags will become irrelevant. Everyone will know the information. And I think there's a little bit of a full disclosure debate here. Well, I think that it's quite clear where we stand on free leaks, I suppose. But we believe that the most heavily guarded secrets, as it says here, if revealed, have the most potential for reform. There are some people that do not believe this. They believe that it is possible that we should keep those secrets there. But I ask you, what is it that those secrets say? Is it the idea that if you have something that someone else would know, and that would cause some kind of harm? Well, I wonder, what is it that you are doing that you are so afraid of? What is the hegemony that you are promoting in the world? That's the question, right? So I believe that when people in a democracy know these things, it will cause a change, and it will cause a big change. Because when people have things done in their name, it changes things in their hearts. And that takes them on a pretty heavy trip to the ballot box. Journalists sometimes do the wrong thing, and it's a little bit disappointing. There is a video that we're going to talk about that a journalist had for quite some time. And that journalist did not release it because they feared losing their special access. You see, the military offered a collaboration between journalists and the military. And they said, you can come along for a ride with us, but we get to exercise a little editorial control. And some of these journalists did the right thing, and they turned that down. And some of these journalists did the right thing, and they talked about what they saw. And some of these journalists did not do the right thing, and they kept quiet so that they would keep their access. Those journalists are not very good, in my opinion. So we believe that disclosure is the thing that is the most important. Losing access, we have access to everything, because every one of you is in every single system that has all of these documents. We don't have to worry about it. When you see something that's wrong, you will tell us, and we will tell the world so that no one knows that it was you that helped us. And this is super important, absolutely without question. Because at the end of the day, this transparency is what will create change. There's a little controversial disclosure, the Warlock system. Have any of you heard of this? No? Okay. The IED detection system manual. This basically says that there are some IEDs and it blocks them. It explains how it works. And by the time that it was disclosed, that it had mostly changed. But it's interesting because what it did is it revealed essentially that there was so much information that people already knew that by telling everyone that people knew it, it changed things. It forced people to react in a different way. And it just so happened that we had been spending a majority of our expenses on these devices, which insurgents had already figured out how to get around. So this is something really important. It's the idea that there's this black market for information. And as long as only some people have it, and not everyone, then things will be all right. In some cases, I guess I could see why someone would make that reasoning, that line of reasoning, but it's just not true. The people in Iraq know what's going on, right? It's us. We are the ones that don't. I mean, it's quite clear that they've been able to get around a lot of these jamming devices. So what's important is that when things don't work, that people understand that they're not working. The military-industrial complex is extremely large and very convoluted, and it means that there are a lot of players here who benefit regardless if the thing saves our troops. That's a really important point, right? And I think that it's quite clear that there are people that would just like to see this information vanish instead of adapt, instead of changing. And I understand that, because they're usually the ones that profit from it. But I say, no. So it's important. In this case, this transparency, I believe, is quite obviously neutral, because now we all know that the emperor doesn't have any clothes. This is not bad to know this. This is good to know this. You are now empowered to make a decision about that system and about the people who might be protected by that system or who might try to thwart that system. Now you are as qualified as someone else to make that decision, if not better, because you have the original source documents on the subject. So let's talk about some other publishing that we've done that's important. Iceland is a country that is very close and near and dear to my heart. And there's a very incredible person here from Iceland, and we've had long discussions about that.